And a very warm welcome to the CuppaChino Club's social TV network. It's day 9 of lockdown in South Africa because of the coronavirus, and we just having a chat to check in on the community and see how everyone's doing and see what everyone else in the rest of the world is up to. Viola is my co-host. I'm Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and Viola, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brigitte. How has your day been today?
It's been good. It's been good. I did a little bit more cleaning up today, which is something that made me feel good. I think it's important that one takes care of your environment
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because, we're not going out. And so we wanted our environment to be as comfortable as we could possibly get it. And so it's important to me to make sure that I feel comfortable at home.
Yeah, no, that's true, and it's important that you feel that the space is not just comfortable, but it's the kind of space that you can, just sort of chill in without having to see something that's irritating you, and you need to get up and sweep or get up and pack it away, or So if the environment's comfortable, then you feel comfortable. I must tell you that on the Thursday before lockdown, we had a little family dinner, and everybody created this. I gave everybody these post-its, and they each got a number from 1 to 21, and they had to sort of decorate it because we've got lots of craft stuff. And we then stuck 21 post-its on the mirror at home. And what's happened is that every day, we sort of, one of us just take the day, take one day off. And we're so excited because the actual neck of the two is gone. We're just sort of looking at the bottom end of the 2 and the 1. So progress
Wow.
is being made. Progress is being made. It's exciting. We're moving along swiftly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. I want to say a warm welcome to our guests today on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. A warm welcome, everybody. Tell us what you're up to today and where you're joining us from. We'd love to know in the comments. And our special guest for today is Yolisa Ndlovu, who is a PR and communications professional. But I'm going to let her tell her story and let us know what is her day job is. Yolisa, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Thank you
Elisa.
so Hi, thank you so much, ladies. I'm so excited to be in the show. I've been watching the other shows as well. So my day job, one, I am a public relations and communications professional, but I think I've done like a bit of everything. So I've not really gone into pure PR, kind of media related. I've done strategy. I've been, work for municipalities. I've co-owned a PR agency. I've so for the past 4 years though, so I've been self-employed, really, just working as a consultant, and for the past years working with the U.S. consulate, where I was the one in Cape Town, was taking 21st century skills into communities around Cape Town, into Georgia, Knysna, to East London, up to King Williamstown, and as well as Kimberley. So I was working in those 3 provinces. And so the past 2 years, it was quite a bit of travel involved, and more project management, program management, facilitation, and training. So it's really varied. And I guess it's also because when I left my full-time job, I said, I want to connect young people to opportunities. There's so many opportunities out there, and we have young people just don't know, where to start. How do they access these opportunities? And it's times, we can be like, oh no, they're lazy, but we forget, how the world has changed and what it means for them. And for us as people who have more access to that information, what is it that we're doing to make sure, we bridge that gap? And so I feel like, that's the space that I've been playing in for the past few years. Yeah.
Okay. And so
I think
how
that's
has the lockdown
phenomenal,
affected you?
Sorry?
That's amazing. But how has the lockdown affected your running around and doing all this training?
So actually what's actually interesting for me, this is a blessing in disguise, if I must be honest, because at this point in time, my project had just finished. So I just had one more to do, and then it was happening on the 27th, so we had to cancel, and that was the last one. And so I was actually moving into a space where I was like, I'd like to go more into facilitation and training, into design thinking. I feel like that's a space, I want to play more into. Around 2017, I was involved in a gaming competition. I was in a team where we were 4 entities to win R1 million, and we made it to the final. And so that's when I was introduced to lean startup and design thinking. And for a year, I'd just been toying with the idea, but not doing anything. So this time just really forced me to be like, yo, Lisa, get into it. Now, this is like, test it, do this thing, because I was in that transition period of, okay, this project is ending. What am I going to do next? And just toying with the idea. So for me, this is like, I'm testing.
Nice.
Skills.
So instead of, a lot of people have felt that they sort of got stuck with the lockdown, but for many people like yourself, it's opened up doors and opportunities,
Yes.
and that's wonderful to hear. Because we're dealing with so much overwhelming bad news at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
And we need to shield ourselves from that. We need to protect our mental health at this time, because it's this flood of negativity coming in onto our timelines. It's a continuous
Yes.
stream. And so it's very refreshing when we can share some good news, and some opportunities that have come out of the lockdown. So it's wonderful to hear your story.
So I think, I think it's important, one, for people to just be honest with their feelings, right? So as I looked through my Facebook feed, I realized that it would make me anxious, from all the things, from the different comments, and also realizing that I'm just at a different point compared to other people have full-time jobs, they've secured incomes during this time, and where I'm like, okay, so what are you gonna do in this time? And so I had to then say, I need to choose what I feed myself. And so I remember also chatting to another fellow entrepreneur, and I was like, actually, this time is gonna be my LinkedIn time. I'd rather spend more time on LinkedIn. It's got professionals, it's got people in business. And so I'm rather reading that, I'm rather reading things where I can see where are, opportunities, or, there's different relief funds or whatever. And so I think it's important for us to choose what we read, in order for us mentally to be okay, and to realize, hey, we're not in the same place as everyone else. Some people, they know that, hey, even if we're not locked down for longer, than the 21 days, they have secured income. But if you don't, you then need to kind of speak to other people who are in similar situation to see what are they doing. So it's also been, for me, collaborating as well with other people, where we're like, hey, so what projects can we do together, in order to prepare for the lifting of the lockdown? So when that happens, what kind of projects do you think we could be doing in this time? So I think it's just associating yourself with the people who are just in the same boat as you, because then they'll have empathy, they'll be able to say, hey, it's okay, let's consider this, compared to just reading everything.
I think it's important that we protect our mindset, because if we don't protect our mindset, we're not going to be able to figure out how we could possibly segue into different areas that's complementary to what we were
Yes.
previously doing. Because I think
Yes.
the one thing that's starting to set in is the realization that this is going to be the new normal.
Yes.
And so we need to look at opportunities objectively. We can't do that if we're not protecting our mindset.
Yes, I've got so as you can see, I've got these pages here at the back. So I've got these pages where I'm just writing thoughts. I have even one that's written random ideas. So if I just wake up at 3 in the morning, or if I'm doing something and then some random idea that might not be related, to what I'm doing or would like to do, then I just put it on that page. So I think, again, it goes back to creating even that environment might look different to what you had been doing before. And I think that's what it's been. Even for me, I've been working on my daughter's plastic chair and the chair and the table. And funny enough, I can spend 3 hours on that chair, as uncomfortable as it is, and put in 3 hours of work. And I was like, well, if it works for now, let me just do that, just to get through anything that will help you to get through. I've put up papers on the walls and I'm writing stuff because I was like, I just need an outlet. And so an outlet will mean different things for all of us. So I don't think there's like a particular way that, you need to follow. I think whatever is inside and you feel that it needs to come out, and the best way to do it is X or Y or writing on the walls. I think it's that time where we just need to let that out, and so that we can lessen the frustration. Because at times I think we want to copy other people and say, hey, this is working for them, maybe I need to do it this way. I've sectioned off my mornings from morning till 12. I'm just doing house stuff. It's just me and the kids. It's breakfast and teas and whatever else that they need. And then, because I'm also not a morning person, I'm more nocturnal. So those are the kind of adjustments, that I'm doing that are just working for me. And I'd love to hear what other night owls, are doing in this town to survive, because I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person. So to try and do work in the morning is a struggle. But I mean, obviously, if I do have a meeting in the morning, I will take it. But generally, my days are just in the mornings till around 12. I'm just doing other stuff, just with the kids, whatever it is they need. If it's cooking, it's baking. I mean, I'm baking nowadays as well.
Well, let me tell you, I really appreciate what you're saying. With every conversation we're having with CuppaChino Club, I think what's becoming clear to me is that everybody's going to do their own thing. You've got
Yes.
to do your own thing, and inspiring change through conversations is what we look to do at the CuppaChino Club. But once we've had the conversation, you get to decide whether you take it on board or not. And
Yes.
but I love the idea of just sort of filling your walls with blank sheets of paper and, just spending the time just brainstorming about your life. And I think it's a great idea, even for the kids, just
Yes.
sticking pieces of paper in their rooms and saying to them, if you have a great idea, if there's something you want to talk about over this time, just stick it on the
Yes.
piece of paper. I think that's great. That's such a cool idea. Loving it.
It is a brilliant idea, because how often are you busy with something else, and you have this amazing thought, and you think, I'll put it in my diary later, or I'll type it later, and by the time you get to your computer, you've forgotten that idea is gone. But to have a space where you can actually write that down, whether it's paper or a whiteboard or something, and just jot it down so you can revisit it later, I think is a very, very nice practical tip. How have your children adjusted to the new normal for now?
So in terms of school, they shut down actually a few days before all the other schools. So they're the German school, and because they've got parents who travel internationally, they said, "Hey, look, the kids, it's best that they stay at home because we don't know, who's infected and not." And so my son, he's got an iPad where they were getting homework and stuff that they need to do, and then my daughter as well. She was not given an iPad, but they were given, work to do. So also, fortunately, because they already love online stuff, it wasn't a big adjustment for them. I think our saving grace is just Wi-Fi, YouTube, because YouTube is like the new Google. If you want to learn how to do anything, just YouTube, just go onto YouTube and find a video that will help you, whether it's baking, if you don't know how to bake, like you can find anything really. So they've really adjusted. I must say they just would just stay on one side of the house and just mind their own business. At times they're just quiet. I'm like, okay, you guys still fine? Is everything okay? I mean, mainly they fed and they've had some snacks. They're fine. So yeah, so Wi-Fi has really been a great help. And also because it's uncapped, so that's really been a saving grace for us, because they've got stuff, then they download, and then they're watching, and they're gaming. My son earlier on was like, Mom, my friend and I they were gonna do some gaming video. And so I was like, hey, it's Monopoly. So today, earlier on, we're playing Monopoly as a family. So again, the Monopoly, my eldest daughter, she's 15, so she made that. So she was just checking online how Journey would look like, and it's got community chest, it's got chance, and we're using different stuff. And so fortunately, before the shutdown, I got the dice. So even the dice, she had actually made them from paper. But then I went and got real dice. So I think also just allowing, I think at times we just want to buy stuff, but I think we also need to allow children to create stuff, draw stuff. If it's drawing a game, if it's drawing, snakes and ladders, then let them do it. It's online as well, how to create the dice. So that's where she learned it. And so we've managed, but I'm also very conscious of just balancing the online time and offline, where we're like, hey, yesterday we watched a movie. We love Meet the Browns. We've watched that 1,000 times. So yesterday we are watching Meet the Browns as a family while we're having supper. So it's just also spending time together as a family where we'll laugh, or playing Monopoly. So today we said 4:00. Before I have the interview, we're gonna play Monopoly. So it's really fun. So we're just trying to balance, I guess, online and offline, and that's personally, that's something that's always been important. And at home, we don't have a TV. We've not had a TV in years. We don't have a TV in my house.
Wow. That's interesting.
Well, I must say, I don't think
it's filtering. It's filtering. It's trying to filter what comes in. So it also takes on a lot of responsibility in terms of seeing. So even though they've got their own devices, so every now and again I go into the WhatsApp group. So I've got passwords into their phone where I'm like, give me your phone. I'm looking at messages to look at things at cyberbullying. I look at the history just to check what kind of content they're looking at. And I think it just allows us as a family to have conversations, because I'm aware how you can just be glued in front of the TV and you just forget to chat as a family. So that's how at some point I learned my son was being bullied at school. It was through those conversations where I was like, hey, so what's going on at school? So what are you like? What don't you like? And so forth. And so that's how you uncover, some of these things. So there's no TV. So we just have to go online or buy DVDs for us, to entertain ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
I think you're one of my favorite moms. And we've got somebody on LinkedIn who totally agrees with you. Also says it's not good to have TV. We personally haven't had TV, I think, for about the last 4 or 5 years as well. And I don't miss it at all. It just means that, you can get your news or whatever else you want, or your entertainment at times that you've planned for it.
Yes.
Instead of a television dictating when you are entertained or when you get your news. So basically you taking control, and I love that you taking care of your children as well. And I wish more parents would, because online bullying is a real problem, and we often don't know what's happening to our kids. And so it's great to meet a parent who takes that seriously, and makes sure that your children are using the devices safely.
Yes, and I think it's important we encourage our kids. For example, so as a family, we also have devotion time. So where we spend time devotion, we read the Bible, and I'm like, look, this is also what it means to be a Christian. Have you checked in on your friends? So I've also checked in. I'm like, are you checking in on your friends? Are you asking if they're fine in this time? Because I'm also aware, families are facing different challenges. And so I think, how do we also sensitize our children to their friends, because if we also don't want our children to be bullies, we need to make them a little bit more sensitive, right? So I think it's just also looking into that as parents, and that's how we can pick up when something is happening, like when maybe they're no longer talking to a friend, or that friend is not talking to them, and it allows us, to dig a little deeper, and taking care of them as well, I guess, mentally in this
Yeah.
process.
I think it's so
Wow.
important, so important that you know, what you're saying is very true, because if this lockdown is extended, most of the stuff they're going to do is online, especially in terms of their schoolwork, and the communication with their school friends is going to be online. So being
Yes.
able to actually monitor that and being able to see the signs, because it's now going to be right in your home. You know, it's not happening
Yes.
at school; it's happening in your
Yes.
home. So to be
Yes.
able to just really keep a handle on that is really something for us to think about. Thanks, Yulisa. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I think, the lockdown, that's what I'm saying. I think it's also partially a blessing, the way I look at it from a family perspective, especially like I said, for the past years I've been traveling, and at times I'd literally just be home for 2 days and then I'm out again. So I feel like I'm making up for lost time, and it's just allowing us to reconnect. And also, you can't do work, the amount of work you used to do before. It's just forcing us to slow down as parents, because we're just like, oh, I need to finish this task, and we just neglect our families, quite honestly. And I think this is the time where it's like, look at your children, look at, the people that they've become, take care of them. How are they? And my children, at times, I've got this habit where at the end of the day, when they come home, I ask them, so how was your day? So what did you do at school? And then eventually they started asking me, like, so how was your day? I'm like, oh yeah, I went to a meeting. They're like, so what were you talking about in the meeting? And at times I'm like, what do you get inside? I don't say to them. But then I realized that as much as I answer those questions, I also need to be sincere in my answers to them as well, because they're also checking in, just like
Yeah.
how I check in. So I think that check in, as we're checking in now as entrepreneurs, just checking on everyone else, how they're doing business wise. And I think even in our family, it's so easy to just be online and check in on other people, and we forget the people that we actually that we're with at home, our
Yeah.
children, most importantly, and spouses.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
I
also
think
think that it's going
you
to go ahead, Brigitte.
I
Go.
think you seem to have struck a nice balance because especially in an environment where you possibly have two spouses who are both trying to sort of run a business or to be attentive to their to whatever it is they do as a full-time job, and then possibly neglect the welfare of their children in the process. And so I think you've emphasized very nicely that it's important that we connect with our children, and don't neglect, as much as we take care of our own mental health, make sure we take care of our children's mental health
Mm.
at this time as well, especially if it's going to be an extended um, period of time. And I just want to re-emphasize again that bullying is a real thing, because we're spending so much time online now. Everything's online, and we need to make sure, we need to check in on our children, make sure that they're safe and they don't fall victim, that one, that they're not bullying someone else, and
Yes,
two, that they are not being bullied.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So, Yulisa, I did want to ask you, in terms of your experience with PR and communications, what are you expecting some of the trends to be around communication with this whole COVID-19 sort of trending and like knocking everything out of the way? Because you sort of initially you had loads of information being shared. The same information. I'm like on a few groups, and I would find the same thing being shared across so many groups. And then this whole thing around fake news became a huge issue, and people sort of became very aware of fake news. And I'm starting, just from the groups that I'm in now, I'm starting to see a bit of a lull in terms
Mm.
of the amount of information being shared. One of the things I just said to my parents this morning is, there's an I've sort of read something about, don't constantly watch the news channel, on this whole
Yes.
COVID-19. Move on to movies and move on to other things as well. So what are you anticipating from your experience? Some of the trends to be, or some of the changes to be around communication as time passes by?
So so I think from a communication point of view, I think everyone is sharing the same thing right now. And I think also it's because it shows how most businesses, their communication strategy, right? That often it's not looked at. One, crisis communication is not looked at when there's a crisis, how we're going to communicate and where we're going to communicate. And so some businesses were communicating right from the start, and some were only getting the information now. And everybody is more or less saying the same thing. And you can be part of 5 emailing groups or 10 emailing groups. And if you look at them, they're all saying the same thing. So I think one, businesses are going to be challenged in terms of what is their communication strategy in terms of also digital, because that's always been left, oh no, that's just like social media stuff. And now they realize that, hey, we actually now this is the only thing we have in order to communicate with clients and to keep them up to date, what is happening, where are we going. And so I think it's calling all businesses to order, like, please, look at your communication strategy. It needs to be revised on a yearly basis. It can't just be even twice a year. It can't just be something that you did when your business started and you've never looked at, and you're kind of working through it as your business grows. It has to really be something that you are working. So some of these brands that are quite strong at this times are brands that have always been good at communication, that have always looked at their digital strategy as part of their main point of communication. So it's not just something that is just done by one social media person sitting at the corner where nobody knows. It's someone that they've seen, hey, this is important for our business. So I think that's what it's calling businesses to. And in terms of communication being part of your systems, your business system, that is not just a function where you need to cut budgets. That's the first place you cut budget. Now they're actually going to have to invest. And I think that's why I had a conversation with a friend who was like at work. So her work is client facing. So she goes out into the field. And because in this time she has to be home, she's now been given tasks of somebody who sits in the office, because it's kind of like, oh, well, we can't really just pay you for doing nothing because you're not going out into the field. Do you know what I mean? It's because the company has not invested in what would happen when we have to communicate with you remotely. How do you work remotely? And so I think those are the kind of things that I think in terms of apps as well, I think communication and tech right now are going to work quite well together in terms of building platforms that can help businesses to work remotely. To just have different systems of working. I think that's what I'm seeing from a communication perspective. So I think for businesses that are looking ahead, that's the kind of thing that I would see them investing in going forward. That, hey, what opportunities are here for us as a business? If we can have less workers in the building, that cuts down on our costs in terms of rentals. And if we invest in a system that helps us to work remotely, but I think for businesses where there's a lot of micromanagement right now, it's a headache.
Yeah.
because people are just getting
I'm sure.
of things that are not related to their jobs.
But I think that's so interesting, because what you're saying is usually, with sort of business that we recognize and are familiar with, one of the areas that we cut down on when budgets are tight is communications. And yet with this crisis and with the lockdown, businesses should actually be looking to invest in good communication, sort of during and post the whole the whole lockdown situation. So people like yourself should actually be incredibly busy now over the next few weeks. We're going to be coining it.
I think that's why going into design thinking, it feels like this is just a perfect time, because this is it, where you just need something when you're saying, hey, this is a problem, let's test it. This is what we've gone through as a business, and this is the challenges that we faced. But what are the possible solutions that we can test? Without spending a lot of money. And the digital world allows you to do that. Whereas before with print media, you're spending so much money, but the digital world allows you to actually test things, because you've got platforms that have freemium models. So that freemium model allows you to just test an idea and then see, hey, are people catching on? And if they are, then you would consider investing and buying and getting other benefits of that platform. So I think, it's for forward-looking businesses, this is an interesting time to also grow and develop digital products. But I think if you're still just looking at the same old way of functioning, I think, in years to come, your business might even cease to exist.
Okay.
I think what I'd like to ask the audience is, let us know in the comments, prior to lockdown in your area, did you have a digital strategy in place? Did you have one? Are you now working on one? And are you, or do you already have an exit strategy for the lockdown? What are you going to be doing in that first 2 weeks post lockdown? Do you have a strategy? Let us know in the comments. Be great to know that. Yolisa, how can people connect with you?
So I am on LinkedIn. That is my preferred, especially on a professional basis. That is my preferred way of communication. LinkedIn. I am on Instagram as well. On Instagram, it's at I'm Yoli _N, and I'm on Facebook. But yeah, I prefer LinkedIn and Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was amazing and so insightful. For our audiences, please watch the shows from 1 to 9. There's just been so many gems in each one of those shows, so many interesting discussions. And today has been equally exciting and just really, really good. I cannot wait to get off this show and just start putting down my comments in the post to say, get your pieces of paper on the wall and use the time to like to let creativity go, and just put it on the wall in your kids' rooms as well, and just let them encourage them to write just any idea that comes to, because you know what? The fact is, this is so different for us that if we are going to be creative at any time, now's the time to be creative. So at least make sure that we have those spaces that we can be creative in. Lisa, thank you so much. You were amazing. It was wonderful chatting to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciated this. I was a little nervous. I was like, but this was really awesome. Really great conversation.
We always have fun on the show. So thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks for sharing. And do remember that the CuppaChino Club does not endorse or encourage any kind of fake news, disinformation, or misinformation. And do know that if you are in South Africa, it is a crime. It's a criminal offense if you share any misinformation with regards to COVID-19. Be safe, everyone. From me, Bridget Lambanda in Cape Town, it's goodbye for now. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
There we go. Another amazing show.